Hello everyone and welcome back to a brand new video for a bit of a different intro to this episode of the Haas Road to Glory. Unfortunately my PC crashed. Luckily didn't lose much footage at all, did just lose the intro though for this series, so I guess we're kind of just going to jump straight into qualifying today and pick up the action where it decided to crash. Here we are then, qualifying day from the Mexican Grand Prix, and I'm hoping now we can actually make it through a session without my PC crashing, but we'll wait and see as to what happens there. I mean, this Haas car should theoretically be quite quick around this circuit. Of course, we know how fast this thing can be down the straights on F1 22, but then again, so far this year, this car series has thrown up some interesting and weird and wonderful results at the best of times. Of course, Zandvoort is probably the best example of that, often a track that I've struggled with on previous F1 games, and of course that weekend we took the race victory somehow, the first and only of this Haas Road to Glory so far. I'm really hoping in Season 2 we can sort of get to more consistent winning ways. Of course, Ferrari, Red Bull, Mercedes still a little bit out in front, but I'm hoping with the new regulation changes that we can try and bring our cars closer to those big teams there as well. Just running a little bit wide through the S's, of course, trying to just get this first lap nicely settled in there, try and keep between the white lines as best as possible. We've got one of the Alfa Romeos just in front as well. There we go, George Russell sets a good benchmark of a 16.3. Zhou Guanyu, just in front of me there as we just dipped a wheel on the white line, and that almost sent us off in towards the barrier through the final couple of turns. Though it's not been a bad opening lap, but there's certainly a lot of room for improvement at the final corner up towards the line. A 16.3. Okay, we're getting ready then to start our final qualifying lap here from Mexico. Currently down in P7, but the fastest time so far have only been about 3 or 4 tenths quicker than the time we set. So there's certainly going to be room to improve here and try and put us back towards the front of the order. Of course, had a nightmare qualifying session last weekend out at the US Grand Prix, so fingers crossed here we can keep it clean and tidy and try and post a good time. They're braking heavily at the 100-meter boards down in towards turn 1. They rattle over the curbs again through turn 2, try to avoid them through turn 3 there as we put the power down nicely on the exit of the corner there, and you can see slightly down in the red by the end of sector 1, but that was definitely our tidiest sector of our previous runs there. As we head now in towards sector 2, hopefully we'll get a good idea as to whether any other cars are improving. As you can already see now, trying to just find a little bit of extra time as we now head down in towards the S's there, trying to attack the curbs a bit more on the way in there. Really does open up the second part of this fast-flowing section of S corners there, left and right, once again there, as now you can see, a quarter of a second up as we head down in towards the final sector. Charles Leclerc has found another couple of tenths there, as this time around we keep it much tidier as we head through the stadium section, some of the slowest corners in Formula 1 through the stadium, but through the final turn we are going to improve by a fair old margin here at the final corner. Where is this going to put us on the grid? It's P3! I will have that, thank you very much! Well, look at that then, 5 cars from 5 different teams in the top 5 there at the end of qualifying, and we just went 7 thousandths of a second clear of Lewis Hamilton, but P3 then on the grid for the Mexican GP. Like I said, often our one-lap pace round here has been superb, and then we've struggled a bit more in the race. But, I mean, really, we've got both McLarens, both Ferraris, both Red Bulls, both Mercs, and ourselves all separated there by 6 tenths of a second. This one could get interesting. Let's get into it, though, here from Mexico. This channel is proudly sponsored by Bybit, the official crypto partner of Red Bull's Formula 1 team. I've been using their platform for my personal crypto savings over the last few months, and when they got in touch to support the channel, I was super excited. Currently, they're offering you guys a special new promo for the first 100 of you to deposit $10 or more onto the platform. You'll get another $10 free. Also, 5 lucky winners will get their initial deposit doubled up to $1,000. That means if you deposited $1,000 onto the platform using my codes below, you could be within a chance to get another $1,000 1,000 completely free. We've seen the landscape around crypto drastically change over the last couple of years, and I genuinely believe it holds an important place in our future. However, please be careful as always when trading, as you are liable to lose money. But if you're interested and you're 18 or older, click the link down below to get started and see why Red Bull and myself, as well as thousands of others, trust Bybit as their crypto.
Welcome to Mexico City, the most popular city in North America, and home, of course, to the Mexico City Grand Prix. It's a sellout crowd as usual here at one of the shortest circuits on the Formula One calendar. And who, I wonder, will they be cheering on the top step of today's podium? At 2,285 metres above sea level, the thin air of the Autodromo Hermanos Rodriguez poses a unique challenge, not just to a driver's skill, but to the efficiency of their engines as well. 17 corners then make a lap of this 2.6-mile circuit. Expect incredible speeds in excess of 220 miles per hour, and overtaking into the braking zones of Turn 1 and Turn 4. Off the back of a fantastic qualifying session, it's time to see how our starting grid looks like for today's race. Mr. Monaco lines up on pole position, and Lewis Hamilton completes the front row. Looking down the rest of the grid, we have Norris, Russell, Daniel Ricciardo, and Fernando Alonso. Bottas, Leclerc, they've taken a grid penalty. Ocon and Mick Schumacher. Stroll, Albon, Carlos Sainz, and Perez. They'll be starting further back after an earlier grid penalty. Gasly, Tsunoda, Nicholas Latifi, and Sebastian Vettel. Joe and Max Verstappen completes the grid. It's almost time for the lights to go out, so let's head down to the track where preparations are underway. Anthony Davidson joins me once again in the commentary box. Ant, it's fantastic to have you with us here, but I'm curious, as a man with experience out on the track, how do you stop those pre-race nerves from becoming overwhelming when you're lining up on the grid?
Well, I imagine they'll be starting to feel the adrenaline as they anticipate the run down into Turn 1, a bit like preparing to go into battle. The unknown situation will bring nerves, but that's a good thing. It will keep them focused on the moment and on their surroundings as we build towards the start of the Grand Prix.
Right, well here we are then, on the grid, ready for the Mexican Grand Prix, and both Red Bulls and both Ferraris with penalties means that somehow we find ourselves on pole position here for one of the longest runs down in towards Turn 1. Technically, therefore, our second pole position of the year, of course, after the Belgian Grand Prix a few rounds ago. But it also means it's myself, Hamilton, Lando Norris and George Russell, the front four on the grid. All four of us, of course, British drivers. Is that the first time that's ever happened in Formula 1? Someone let me know down in the comments below whether any nationality has locked out the front four grid slots for a race. I'm sure there's a statistician out there that will know the answer to that one. But yeah, I mean, the game is recommending we go medium hards. I don't think it's the way to go. I reckon medium soft is probably much better around this venue. So we'll try and take those mediums, about 16 laps, and then go softs. Try and be fast towards the end of the Grand Prix. Not the longest pit lane in the world around this track, but we've got a huge opportunity today to try and snooker away a victory. Of course, Mercedes have been rapid in more recent races, but Red Bull and Ferrari are still certainly very quick as well. So whether they're going to be able to get back to the front is a very different question. But I mean, look at that. Haas, Mercedes, McLaren, Mercedes, McLaren at the front of the field. That has definitely not happened before in real Formula 1. Well, before we get into the Mexican Grand Prix, I suppose we probably should give the Mexican fans something to cheer for, especially as Perez is right down the order. We'll give him, something to remember before we get into the Grand Prix weekend, or the Grand Prix even, I should say, here in Mexico City. But yeah, got to try and get temperature into the tyres as well, as somehow we're getting further away from our grid stall there. I think that probably needs a bit of looking into, Codys, and no, it is. No, to be fair, that's fair enough, actually. We are actually physically driving further away from our grid slot, but yeah, you just look down this huge run towards Turn 1 here as we try and put as much heat as we possibly can into the rear tyres there, but lining up then on our grid slot, perfect purple this time round as we wait for Max Verstappen to round out the rostrum. But ready then on the grid for the Mexican Grand Prix. Mark, spot on. Got to be ready with that clutch. Huge run down towards turn 1. Every opportunity to lose many, many places for ourselves, but are we going to be able to keep it clean and tidy? And most importantly, keep the front wing clean there as waiting on those 5 red lights here in Mexico. Lights out and away we go as we try and fight Lewis Hamilton there, but it's not been my best, but not been my worst either there. Hamilton's going to sneak past me, but we are still hanging on pretty close there, as we're still going to be 4 wide down in towards turn 1. There it is, all 4 Brits there side by side towards the first corner. Lando Norris has turned in on me. What was that about from Lando there? Nowhere we could go. Apparently that's my warning, despite the fact we still had Hamilton on our inside there. So shades of Belgium early on in the year, but we have kept it somewhat tidy down at turn 1. I mean, we've kept the front wing intact, which is the most important thing, and we do still lead the way here in Mexico. But yeah, a bit of a chaotic start then to this Grand Prix there. Like I said, we couldn't turn in Lando Norris there. I'm guessing he was getting squeezed by George Russell to try and get towards the apex, but of course Hamilton's still on the inside. Certainly wasn't going to try and make contact with him, because we were always going to come second best in that scenario. But as we head through the S's then for the first time in this Grand Prix, just got to try and settle down and get into a rhythm here. We know how quick those Mercs will be, but of course we might well be on a very, very different strategy to the pair of them here as we head down in through Sector 3 for the first time. We are still leading the way. That would have looked quite bad if we'd done that donut before the start and then came through there at about P18 of the Grand Prix. But round in the final corner though, we have survived that one there or thereabouts. We still lead the way. Hamilton, Russell, Norris and Daniel Ricciardo still applying the pressure. Around in the final corner then to complete lap 2. We're not under horrendous pressure from Lewis Hamilton. If anything, we've opened up the gap on this lap there, as could we try and build up the 1 second window before Hamilton gets any access to the DRS there. Of course, he won't get it this time round, but I mean, we're pretty consistently fast through the S's as well. Could this end up being a bit like Zandvoort? I think it's still too early to call, and of course we've got to wait and see how the strategy pans out, but it really does, yeah, also depend, of course, on how much Red Bull and Ferrari can carve their way through the grid, but we've got to try and at least pull a gap on Hamilton early. There we go, another new fastest lap, gap up to 1.1. As Mick Schumacher then nestled up in about P8 at the moment as well, of course. All those grid penalties have certainly given our teammate a helping hand, and yeah, quite happy that we took those penalties at the USA last weekend, because yeah, especially around Mexico, you do need a lot of power, and we've got all the Ferrari ponies we can ask for early on. Oh, yellow flag's out. Someone's... Oh, it's Mick. What's he done? Please don't say it's a mechanical failure. I think it is. Mick Schumacher out of the Mexican Grand Prix there very, very early on in the afternoon. Luckily, we're on very different power units, so I shouldn't have to worry too much about reliability. But yeah, we're still opening up this gap, though, to Lewis Hamilton behind us. But Mick Schumacher's just had no luck this season, as now we've got the 1 second margin over Lewis. I'm not really too worried about trying to stretch it out massively. We just need to make sure it stays over 1 second here. Mexico is quite a weird race, of course. I think we kind of all forget that, you know, you just think it's a fairly high-speed circuit, but it's actually quite slow. But it is an absolute tyre wrecker, as that is not the line at turn 3. Do not try and emulate that there, as we nudged the wall, but luckily got away with it, and actually used our lower battery to stay out the 1 second zone. Yeah, this track can really damage tyres, so you do often find races can actually come quite late on, of course, because of the different strategies in play. That's what we're hoping for today, that everyone else shreds their hard tyres if they're one-stopping. And of course, we just hope to be super quick all afternoon. And look at this as we get to 1/4 distance. I tell you what, this Haas car, I think we sometimes forget just how good it is in low-speed traction zones, because this thing is really coming alive early on in this Grand Prix. Having a look on the minimap, looks like Charles Leclerc has made his way up now into 7th place there, so he might be the only top runner that really is able to get back towards the front, of course, if you exclude the Mercs and the McLarens. I kind of forget, of course, McLaren now are often quite big threats towards the front of the field. Of course, it really does seem like Haas and them are the 2 teams that have really sort of been able to bridge that gap. Alpine have on occasion as well. I mean, in a hypothetical world, if we had 6 teams battling for a championship, that would be kind of incredible. But Alpine got a little bit more work to do than the pair of us. Whee, steady on, still early doors. Don't want to loop it round just yet in this Grand Prix. I'd rather just not loop it round at all. Of course, more than one occasion at COTA, we ended up the wrong way around, mainly by virtue of Esteban Ocon, sadly, but There we go, that was a fun weekend that we are definitely going to try and put behind us, because currently, this weekend is a lot more sunshine and rainbows. Round in the final corner then to start lap 12 of this Grand Prix. We're already at 1/3 distance here, and at the moment, I'm not really too sure what to talk about. We are just comfortably at the front of this pack there. Looks like Sainz has broken free of all the back marker cars and now in pursuit of one of the Aston Martins, but yeah, 3-second gap over Lewis Hamilton. Both those Red Bulls are still stuck with all the back markers there. In fact, I think Verstappen's only up to like P17, P18 of this Grand Prix. Sergio Perez is slowly shifting his way past that whole gaggle, as Charles Leclerc is a long, long way back from whichever Alpine is trying to hang on to our little gaggle's coattails. But yeah, there's not really a lot to say early on. I guess we just kind of got to get to the pit window and then see how things start to play out from there, because yeah, we are just controlling things, which I never thought we'd be in a position. We're in Season 1 of this career mode. I haven't tweaked the AI, I haven't made the AI any worse this weekend. We had a nightmare at Kota, and suddenly it's just the absolute flip side of that here in Mexico, early on still. Oh, there we go. Charles Leclerc first car into the pits though, as we're on lap 15, so things are going to get quite interesting then. I think then if we were to box, we'd come out around where Carlos Sainz is in this GP. So of course we are going to be boxing in the next lap, but I guess that's where things might get really interesting here in Mexico, because some cars are going to be on the 1 stop, others of us are going to be on the 2. We're just trying to get this gap up to about 4 seconds over Lewis Hamilton. And like I said, I'm still not pushing to the absolute limits, but we are just trying to up the pace a little bit, take the last good life out of these tyres. There we go, official confirmation from the team. They want us in at the end of this lap. Luckily, we don't have to worry about Mick Schumacher. Got to look at the silver linings. Yeah, disappointed again for our teammate. I think that's the 3rd or 4th mechanical failure he's had this year. Mick Schumacher just has had no luck. While heading down then through the final couple of turns of lap 16, these medium tyres are certainly not feeling destroyed, but certainly aren't providing us with the grip I'd like at this stage of the afternoon, and cannot wait to bolt on a fresh set of these super soft, sticky, soft compound tyres. There, make sure we get the car slowed down nice and tidy into the pit lane. Hamilton is going to follow us in, so we might be able to have a look. Unfortunately, we've gone past Mercedes' box, so I can't see what tyres Lewis is going on to. We should get confirmation in just a second there, as please, nice clean tidy stop by our team, 2.5 seconds. Hamilton is on hards then, so we are going to have to try and make up quite a hefty advantage to Hamilton in this Grand Prix as we head back out of the pit lane. And my prediction of being out around Sainz is not going to be far off here. In fact, we're going to be ahead of Carlos Sainz here. He's trying to go long in this Grand Prix as Charles Leclerc flexes the Ferrari muscles. Of course, Leclerc could still be world champion this weekend if he outscores Sainz by enough points there. Sadly, I did run through that before the race, but as mentioned in the different intro, my PC crashed. More cars into the pits though, I'm sure, at the end of lap 17, so we should re-emerge back in the lead of this Grand Prix. Ocon from a set of mediums there, Norris and George Russell both on a set of hards. So yeah, George Russell temporarily in the lead there, but we are going to re-emerge at the front of this rostrum. Hamilton, where is he going to be at in comparison to George Russell? Going to be very, very close between the two Mercedes boys as they head down towards turn 1, but I think Russell has just about done it. No, Hamilton, of course, warm rubber for him. Going to try and fight back there, and he has pulled off the move. So Hamilton now back up to P3, but we've got to effectively now try and get a pit stop ahead, but we should be quicker pretty much between now and the checkered flag. Things are going to get interesting. Effectively, we've got half a race of qualifying laps. There we go, new fast lap of the day as well. Goes to show this Haas this weekend is well and truly competitive, 1:17.7. I mean, theoretically, we shouldn't really ever lose out on the fastest lap bonus point here, especially as we are the only car that's going to use the softs, but it looks like Perez and Verstappen now are broken free of their big gaggles of cars, so they're now going to be in hot pursuit of Charles Leclerc, who of course is still trying to close up to that whole gaggle of cars, but we are still in the lead and building up a window. I'll start in lap 21 there, 7/12 of our way into this Grand Prix. Yes, I'm going to start using some strange fractions to try and keep things entertaining at the moment. I've kind of... Oh, there we go, Sainz into the pits as well. I'm kind of hoping we can build up about a 12-second gap by the time we box again over Lewis Hamilton. I don't know why 12 seconds, I just feel like that's a pretty round and safe number, and I feel like that will just give me a bit more confidence in the second half of this race. We're going to have a lot of overtaking to do towards the end, as we are going to re-emerge most likely behind this whole gaggle, but I mean, we are going to be so much faster late on in the day. It's a big gamble, but one that I really do want to see pay off. Of course I want to see it pay off. We would love to get our second win of the year, and of course Haas's second ever Formula 1 victory. Ah, there we go then. So it looks like both Red Bulls haven't actually really broke free. They had just gone long on the hard compound tyres in a similar vein to Carlos Sainz there, but 14.5 laps to go here in Mexico, and that 12-second gap I wanted are pretty much there already, which I think is good as Hamilton and George Russell now starting to battle out. That is really helpful for us if they're going to trip over each other, and immediately another half a second gained. Right, okay, getting that warning a little bit earlier than I would have liked late on in this second stint of the Grand Prix. What percentage are the tyre wear up to? 36%, it's nothing to worry about too much, Mark. Guess he's just getting his knickers in a twist for the sake of it, but yeah, we are still leading the way. 13.5 seconds now ahead of George Russell. I think it is just those 5 cars tripping over each other, as Charles Leclerc now I think has dropped back behind the other Alpine. Oh no, it's Alonso, sorry, hanging on to us. I think Ocon is the car Charles Leclerc is behind. There's far too many names in Formula 1. How on earth am I meant to be able to remember 20 people, try and make it interesting, and also drive at the same time? It's impossible. Right, Team 1 is in then at the end of this lap, but safe to say, yeah, these tyres not feeling, again, particularly great here at the moment. So, yeah, final few laps of this GP are potentially going to get a little bit tasty still, but yeah, I mean, almost 15 seconds clear now, both Mercs there. So, I mean, all 5 of those cars have pretty much been nose to tail all race long, as I think theoretically we should come out somewhere around Charles Leclerc. I want to say we should be a little way ahead of Charles. In fact, yeah, we should be a bit ahead of Charles Leclerc, but we're going to be around Charles Leclerc when we head out of the pit. So we are going to have a few laps of just trying to really close up this gap, but this is far from over. Bits to become then at the end of lap 26. Done pretty well. Of course, not going to try any funny business of extending this stint to make sure the tyres next stint are any better, but make sure we just get it slowed down again nice and tidily into the pit lane. But where are we going to re-emerge then in this Grand Prix? Of course, luckily a 50-mile-an-hour pit lane here. If it was 37, we'd probably struggle a whole lot more, but trying to bolt on a fresh set of soft compound tyres to see us to the checkered flag. 2.4 seconds stop this time round is a whole lot better, and we are not going to be far away then from this front gaggle of cars. Look at that, Alonso flies past me as he heads back down towards turn 1. But I mean, if we can be, what, close to a second a lap faster, it is still going to be tight, but this is, yeah, definitely not over. Let's get our head down, get these tyres up to temperature, and try and close up and pick off cars one by one. And there we go, lap 28 of 36 here, 8 laps to go. Well, this should be another new fastest lap of the day. Yes, it is a 17.2. And we are taking time hand over fist out of Fernando Alonso. We just got to keep a fair bit on these tyres though, because we are going to be in the dirty air pretty much from now until the checkered flag, of course, depending on how quickly we can sneak by all these cars. But Mark, absolutely spot on there. We are closing in, but we've got to be careful. We've got to play this strategically. We are the one with the upper hand currently, but that can all very quickly evaporate. And I must admit, all 5 of these cars so bunched up has really allowed us to use this strategy to its absolute fullest. There is starting lap 30 then of the Mexican Grand Prix. Are we going to be able to get a run on Fernando Alonso back down towards turn 1? We know how quick that Alpine can be, but Alonso there, we're just going to have to try and use a bit of battery to the outside, surely, even if we're side by side. We can outbrake him down in towards turn 1 there. Alonso's going to try and keep the nose there, but clean around the outside. You know, we don't have to panic about making these overtakes at the moment. We know we've got time on our side. We can just pick these guys off and not really worry about it. You know, if someone defends, we've got so much extra grip, it's pretty much a pointless exercise for him. Next up, Daniel Ricciardo. And heading back out of the final corner then, once again, you can just see how much closer we're able to stick in the traction zones to these cars at the moment. They're on 15-lap-old hards. I'm on 5-lap-old softs as we go to the inside of Daniel Ricciardo. Again, just make sure we don't use too much battery at the moment. And up the inside, we'll retake the racing line. And P4 is now ours once more. Lando Norris next up then on the old list. Are we going to be able to try and get past him down out of this traction zone? It is now back to a British 1, 2, 3, 4 again in this Grand Prix as well here. To the inside of Norris. Oh, not quite. Tiny bit of contact there. I do apologise, Lando, but he definitely got away with that. I might have picked up a tiny bit of damage, but I think we got away with it. Right, come on then. Let's make it 3 in a row as we head out of the final turn. Lando Norris this time round. The car just in front of me, as then we've just got both Mercedes to try and navigate towards the end of this one to the inside of Lando Norris. It's going to be a carbon copy of the move we just pulled off on his teammate there. Back to the racing line as we head back towards turn 1, and another nice textbook move. We're just ticking them off the list one by one at the moment as Hamilton, a little bit of a wobble there as he tries to put the power down out of the first couple of turns. He is going to go defensive on me as we head to the outside, up in towards turn 4. Big old squeeze there from Lewis Hamilton. Oh, and I was just a little bit worried about the line he was trying to take in. Ah, sorry, Lando. I didn't realise Lando Norris was trying to have a look to the inside. I apologise profusely. I was trying to do the switchback on Lewis Hamilton and didn't realise Lando Norris was trying to get the nose back up the inside there. But Hamilton now dropping outside the DRS range of George Russell momentarily. And I mean, if he doesn't get back in now, we are just going to sail past him back down towards turn 1. I mean, even with the DRS, there was a fair chance we were going to do so anyway. But out of the final corner. Exactly what I'm planning on doing, Mark, as here we go. DRS once more. Lewis Hamilton, nothing to defend himself this time round. Don't start that, Lewis, please. And at the inside will go. 213 miles an hour as we head back down towards turn 1. One car now separating us from victory in the Mexican Grand Prix, and that is young George Russell. Here we go then. 3 more to go, and we have just picked them off one by one at the moment, and we've just got one more to do it against. We've flown past one Mercedes with the DRS. Are we about to fly past another? It's 5 laps worth of fuel remaining, so we're certainly over on the fuel coming into this one. But here we go then, in the wheel tracks of George Russell. We're a little bit further back than we have been so far, but still, I mean, look at that straight line speed. Straight past the Merc, back into the lead of the Mexican Grand Prix we go. It was a risky strategy, but for now, it looks like it's going to pay off for us. We just got to make sure we build up our 1 second window here in case the tyres fall off as we head in towards the final lap. They might be a little bit tight towards the end as Hamilton now under pressure from both of those McLarens. And of course, this is quite important for us as well in our little feud with Merc overall in the Constructors' Champion, in the Drivers' Championship, because, I mean, 10 points off one of them could be quite handy towards the end of the year. Oh, we got yellow flags out with just less than 2 laps to go. It's one of the Alfa Romeos. Is it Zhou Guanyu that might be pulling to the wayside here very, very late on in the day? Seems like Ferrari Power is the only one that struggled with the high altitude here, and it is Zhou Guanyu out of the Mexican Grand Prix there with, yeah, like I said, for him 2.5 laps to go of this Grand Prix. Heartbreak for Zhou once more. Alfa Romeo's reliability has been questionable at best. Out of the final corner though, starting the last lap of the Mexican Grand Prix, and once again, this race was always going to be a bit weird. Don't get me wrong, if Ferrari and Red Bull had been at the front, there's no chance we would have won this. They would have probably walked away from the McLarens and the Mercedes here, but as soon as I saw myself on pole position when Crofty was doing the grid rundown, I really did then wonder whether we could try and snooker away our second race victory of the year. George Russell has been able to hang on pretty close as the tyres have started to fall off, but Hamilton, Ricciardo and Lando Norris all tripping over each other late on in the day there, but I think it looks like it will be Ricciardo who will hang on to P3 in the end. They're an unlikely podium for the Australian, but fair play to him, he certainly earned it today. Looks like we got Leclerc and both Red Bulls duking it a bit further back. Sainz still though in P6, so I don't know, sorry, P7 even, so I don't know currently whether Charles Leclerc will be world champion come the checkered flag here. He's only going to lose 4 points to Sainz, which doesn't sound like much, but Sainz did need a bit of a miracle run in the final few races of the year. But the confetti flies here at the Mexico City Grand Prix, round in the final couple of corners. We are going to get the second win for Haas, the first time they've won in North America in Formula 1. We are back on top.
We did it! Oh, that's the race win! That is the race win! You've been amazing today, mate. You deserve that. Well done.
And with that, another year of Formula 1 draws to a close, and a new World Drivers' Champion is declared. Another entry added to that prestigious list of the sport's most incredible drivers. It's victory in Mexico then, and what a victory it is after an incredible Grand Prix. Anthony, tell me, what was it that helped them achieve this success?
Well, I honestly feel it was down to the driver and car today. I mean, we can talk driver skill all day, but if you don't have a solid team to back that, you're never going to get anywhere. When you hit that sweet spot of having both an excellent driver and an incredible car, that's when you see results like those we witnessed today.
There aren't many teams, as they come out onto the podium now, who could do what Haas have managed to accomplish here. It's hard to believe how competitive they've already become. Amazing victory. This result then narrows the gap between our championship leader and the rest of the standings. Well, after an incredible day of racing, who was your driver of the day, Ant?
Carlos Sainz certainly wasn't someone to scoff about. His ability to follow race strategies throughout with pinpoint precision has to be commended.
So then, Ferrari have now moved out of sight and out of reach. It's another triumph for the Italian team as they claim the World Constructors' Championship. Well, what an end to another fantastic weekend of racing. Thanks to everyone who joined us, and we'll see you for the next one.
Well, maybe we did let George Russell get a bit too close there at the finish line, just half a second between us, but pole position, fastest lap, race victory, the Haas road to glory. Surely we've finished it now. The absolutely dominant weekend here from Mexico. But yeah, Russell finishes P2 ahead of Daniel Ricciardo. Lewis Hamilton, Lando Norris in 4th and 5th there with the two Spaniards of Alonso and Sainz ahead of Ocon, Leclerc and Perez there. Did recover to score a point in his home Grand Prix there. Nightmare weekend for Red Bull. I mean, Mercedes have certainly taken a lot of points out of them. Could still be up for grabs by the end of the season there. Further down the order though, of course, just Zhou Guanyu and Mick Schumacher that didn't make it to the flag there. Zhou Guanyu still got classified, and it means championship-wise, yeah, I mean, there's only 14 points separating Russell, Hamilton and myself lay on in the game. We're still 42 back from Perez. That's going to take a miracle to try and close up that gap by the end of the year. But if we keep going the way we are, maybe, just maybe still, we could try and beat out one of those Mercs there. Ricciardo re-jumps Mick Schumacher, Ocon and Zhou Guanyu to leapfrog his way back up into a respectable 10th place in the championship. Constructors-wise, though, like they said, Ferrari now are champions. But yeah, Merc only, what, 45 points away from Red Bull now. That one might still be yet to be decided then. I mean, Drivers' Championship? A bit weird. I wonder if it's because we won the race. The game didn't confirm it, but Charles Leclerc, if my maths hasn't failed me, is now officially world champion. There's only, what, another 60 points available. 2 race victories with 2 fastest laps and 8 points at the Brazil Sprint. Charles Leclerc's world champion, and no one seems to be making a song and dance about it this weekend here in Brazil. So GG's to Charles. I mean, yeah, he might have stole my thunder if he had claimed that one and we'd seen all the celebrations and donuts. Hopefully we'll get that at Interlagos next time round. But thank you all so much for watching this video. If you have enjoyed it, please do make sure to leave a like, get yourself subscribed as well, and we will return very, very soon with more F1 22 content. None of these videos would be possible without the help of our channel members, so a massive thank you to all of the names you see on your screens currently for helping support the channel. You can join them by clicking the join button down below, and yeah, thank you once again to everyone that continues all the insane support on my work.